Okay. Can you all see my screen? Yeah, I think so.
Looks good.
Well, yes. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, and thanks for connecting today to this pre-joining webinar. Today, I will present some important nutritional aspects to consider for a successful breeding season, with focus on nutritional management and trace mineral supplementation for heifers, cows, and bulls. This webinar will be very interactive, and we would like you to participate. And we have created some questions that will be asked during the presentation. So we will start with the first couple of questions to know a bit more about you. Back to you, Jerry.
Okay, so on your screen, you should be able to see a poll now, and you can tick all that apply, which best describes you and your enterprise. Are you a beef producer, dairy producer, sheep producer? But of course, you can also let us know if you're not a producer, but you find this topic relevant. So if you're an animal health advisor or a staff member, that's the box that you could tick. But of course, at the same time, you can tick more than one box. So I'll just give you guys a couple of seconds to submit your answers. And again, these come through anonymously, so the other responders can't see what you've ticked. We'll only see a percentage towards the end, which I can then share with the audience. Okay, I think most of you guys have voted. Are a couple still coming through? All right, I'm going to close the poll off now and share the results. So you can see that most of the attendees today are beef producers. We've got a small number of dairy and sheep producers as well, and also some other people that are either industry advisors or veterinarians and so forth. So great to have you all on board, and I hope you find this webinar relevant for you.
Okay.
Back to you, Paula.
Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, so many of you have beef or dairy cattle production, and for those who have sheep flocks, many of the concepts that I will present today are applicable for your ewes and rams. There are several nutritional strategies to improve cattle reproductive performance. Among them, optimum heifer management with adequate nutrition pre-joining and during pregnancy to support fetal growth and to meet the heifer's demands for growth. Plan the time and length of calving period to align with pasture growth. Ensure that the cow's body condition score at calving is optimum and they have adequate nutrition post-calving. Also to ensure adequate bull nutrition and supplementation for optimal performance. The time to start joining is highly dependent on the annual pasture curve in response to rainfall in most of the Australian beef productive systems. For northern cattle production, joining should commence one month after the green date, which is the first effective rain. Therefore, there will be good amount of feed available when the breeders are lactating and cycling. The breeding herd is under high metabolic demands before joining, as they are still recovering from calving, in particularly the first calf heifer that is being joined for second time. For the joining period to be successful, both the females and bulls needs to be in optimal physical and nutritional condition to not sacrifice reproductive efficiency. To maintain efficiency, body condition score and critical mating weight is very important. It's been demonstrated that the best results are achieved when cows are gaining weight during the breeding season. To achieve this, cows must calve in optimum body condition score. Cows that calve with low condition are slow to show estrus early in the breeding season and have decreased pregnancy rates and longer calving intervals. Cows normally lose some condition after joining, but needs to build up adequate condition at calving. Cows that calve in low body condition score but have good nutrition post-calving will often manage to return to estrus. Low condition at calving is offset by the increasing plane of nutrition. However, if the cows or calf or heifers calve in poor body condition score and don't have access to good nutrition post-calving, they will fail to cycle. Optimal nutrition post-calving and at joining in terms of energy, protein, vitamins, and minerals, ensure a lifetime performance. If energy requirements are not met, likely all other nutrients are in suboptimal or deficient amounts. Protein deficiency results in infertility, reduced fetal weight, and decreased milk production, with resultant decrease in weaning weights. Marginal deficiencies in key trace minerals like copper, zinc, selenium, and manganese, as well as vitamin A and E, are linked to reduced immunity and lower reproductive efficiencies in cattle. Essential trace mineral supplementation improves the antioxidant system, helps to reduce embryo losses in the first week of pregnancy, increase pregnancy rates, reduce the number of days between calving and the next conception. I will review this in depth in a couple of minutes. Vitamin A precursors called beta-carotene are present in all green forages and are converted into vitamin A in the small intestine. Vitamin A is stored in the liver, and reserves may last for 3 to 6 months. Requirements of vitamin A increase during the late pregnancy, often at time when grid feed is decreasing. Vitamin A complements the activity of other trace minerals, such as zinc, with protective function of epithelial cells in the digestive, respiratory, urinary, and reproductive tract. Deficiencies of vitamin A cause abortion, stillbirth, blind calves, retained placenta, infertility, and male reproductive failure. Injections of vitamin A will increase hepatic reserves for 3 to 6 months and are recommended for periods of dry pasture intake. Other fat-soluble vitamin is vitamin E. Vitamin E complements the activity of selenium, and very low levels of vitamin E affects the antioxidant status. The reproductive, muscular, circulatory, nervous, and immune system. Fresh green pasture is high in vitamin E, and deficiencies are likely during prolonged periods of dry pasture intake, and it's here when supplementation is recommended. There are other vitamins that are successfully synthesized by the rumen in the gastrointestinal tract, such as vitamin C, vitamin K, and the vitamin B complex, and don't need to be supplemented in the diet. Vitamin B12 is synthesized in the rumen by rumen bacteria in presence of cobalt. B12 supplementation might be required in cobalt deficient areas. If you decide to use commercially available products containing B12, it's important to read the labels, since products containing hydroxycobalamin are preferred. The right form of injectable vitamin B12 or hydroxycobalamin will improve energy, protein, and fertility, and energy, protein metabolism, and also fertility, and won't affect the antioxidant status of the animals. Hydroxycobalamin is included in injectable products such as high B12 and vaccines. Cyanocobalamin is another form of vitamin B12, but it has low retention in the body and needs to use antioxidants to be activated, and is not the preferred form of B12 to be used in livestock. So, what can influence the reproductive system and how we can improve it? We know that a lot of things can influence the reproductive system, such as genetics, the environment, diseases, and of course, nutrition. Some of the important factors that affect negatively fertility are marginal levels of trace minerals and oxidative stress pre-joining that reduces conception rates and determines the spread of the calving pattern. The objective of a profitable beef cattle production is to obtain 1 calf per year. In order to attain this, the cow has a small window of 35 days or approximately 2 estrus cycles to get pregnant. If the cow or the heifer fails to get pregnant early in the breeding season, they will fail to get back in calf sooner in the following season. Early pregnant cows mean more early calves and less empty cows, which will bring higher income. However, early pregnancies are not normally obtained because there is 30% of embryo mortality in the first days of pregnancy. Early embryo losses occurs during the critical period of pregnancy recognition. This is between the day 15 to 17. And this is normally recognized by you as a repeated estrus. The embryo and the placenta rely entirely on the cow for enough supply of nutrients needed for normal development. If the cow's supply of nutrients is inadequate, the embryo and the calf can be severely affected prior to birth and in the first month of life. Trace minerals play vital roles in enzymatic and metabolic pathways that are critical for conceptus growth and development during early pregnancy. Selenium, copper, and manganese are among the trace minerals that have the greatest impacts on reproduction by reducing oxidative stress. So here we have another question for you. Back to you, Jerry.
Thank you, Paula. So on your screen, you should see another poll now. Have you heard of antioxidants before? Please select one. Yes, no, or not sure. I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to vote. Still waiting on a few people to submit. Okay, I'm going to close the poll off now. And I'll share the responses with everyone. So the vast majority of our attendees today, they have heard of antioxidants. A small proportion of people are unsure or they haven't, and which is fantastic. So back to you, Paula.
Thanks. It's fantastic that many of you have heard about antioxidant before. So I'm going to explain to you what is oxidative stress. So probably we're not seeing the screen. There we go. Okay. Oxidative stress is an imbalance between free radical production and antioxidant production. People and animals produce free radicals as a consequence of normal respiration. This is a normal process necessary for normal metabolism. Antioxidants neutralize the free radicals to maintain them in an equilibrium. Excessive production of free radicals occurs in periods of high demands, such as joining, pregnancy, calving, weaning, mastering, transport, and extreme weather events such as heat stress and drought. And it's here when the antioxidant system becomes inefficient to neutralize the free radicals. This buildup of free radicals is called oxidative stress. The process of oxidation in the body damages the cell membranes and other structures, including cellular proteins, lipids, and DNA, damaging the immune system, fertility, and general health. To prevent oxidative stress, supplementation of antioxidants is required. So here we have another question for you.
Okay, just bear with me for a second.
Thanks, Jerry.
Okay, increasing antioxidant status is beneficial for, please select one, females, males, or both. Give you guys a couple more seconds to submit your reply. Just a little bit over half of you have voted so far, so I'll give you a couple more seconds. Okay, I'm going to close off the poll now. Okay, and so again, we can see that the vast majority of people have selected one answer, and it's both, and a small proportion have selected females. Paula, what is the correct answer?
Well, that's fantastic that many of you have chosen both, because indeed there are two parts of the equation when considering animal fertility and both required antioxidants. On the male side, we need to make sure that the sperm are healthy. Sperm are very sensitive to free radical damages. Therefore, if we can provide them with antioxidants, they will be better protected. This means better male fertility. On the female side, the embryo is a rapid growing cluster of cells with high metabolism and nutrient demands. Oxidative stress is directly linked to sperm damage, reduced fertilization rate, and impaired embryo development, resulting in early pregnancy losses because of male reproductive failure. On the female side, oxidative stress is directly linked to increased embryo losses, delayed pregnancy, increased calving interval, and increased number of empty cows. Antioxidant systems using selenium and copper are vital to keep the new embryos alive inside the uterus by reducing the free radical damages. As you can see, the risk of losing an embryo early in the pregnancy is very high. If we can provide high levels of antioxidants to both males and females, we can protect the embryo and help carry the pregnancy to term. Trace mineral supplementation pre-joining is part of a balanced nutrition, but is normally overlooked. It has been demonstrated that a combination of several trace minerals is better than a single mineral because they have synergistic effects, and the effectiveness of one mineral will depend on the others. The positive effects of nutrient supplementation, including trace minerals, antioxidants, and vitamins in preparation for pregnancy, is largely demonstrated in human medicine. So if our animals are equally or more exposed to oxidative stress than us, there are very good reasons for supplementing trace minerals pre-joining, right? However, ruminant digestive system is different to the human digestive system, and trace minerals have very low oral absorption because they are affected by antagonists in the rumen. Antagonist reaction occurs inside the rumen where macro and trace mineral ingested in feed and water bind together and form complexes of difficult absorption. As a consequence, most of the trace minerals are wasted in urine and feces, and they're not used by the animals. Strong antagonists of trace minerals in the rumen are iron, sulfur, molybdenum, calcium, and phosphorus, either present in feed or water or used as fertilizers in pasture. Despite the lower levels of requirements, below optimal levels of trace minerals intake affects significantly animal performance without observed clinical signs of deficiency. For example, the classical signs of copper deficiency is discolor coat and sway back in sheep. Of selenium deficiency is white muscle disease, and also abnormalities in bone growth and development are observed in case of manganese and copper deficiency. But those signs of deficiencies occurs when the level of trace mineral intake and the reserves in the animals drop to very low levels. Trace minerals requirements vary according to the production cycle and also the physiological status of the animals. Increased requirements are observed during high demand periods such as joining, and it's here when suboptimal levels may occur, even if animals receive a well-formulated diet. As the trace mineral status of an animal's decline, immunity and antioxidant enzyme functions are the first to be compromised, followed by a reduction in fertility. A reduction in growth and classical signs of deficiencies occurs when the levels of trace mineral intake are very low and the reserves in the animal liver are depleted. As a producer, you cannot allow the trace mineral status of your cattle to decrease to deficient levels. The focus of supplementation should be around critical physiological periods for optimal economic return, such as pre-joining. Here we have another question for you about your current practices of trace mineral supplementation. Back to you, Jerry.
Thank you, Paula. I'm launching another poll. Do you supplement with any trace minerals such as copper, selenium, zinc, and or manganese? Please select one that applies. And for those of you that don't actually have any animals, are just here to observe, then please feel free to click the I'm not a producer button there. Give you guys a few more seconds to submit your votes. Oops, still trickling in. Well, that's interesting. I'm actually getting a couple of comments now that some of our attendees are unable to click on the poll, even though they can see it. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what the reason behind that is. We've actually never had this problem before. So I apologize about that, but hopefully it might fix itself up, or it might be a problem unique to this particular session. But yeah, for most people, they should be able to click on an answer on their screen. Oh, okay, so some other people have given me feedback now to say if you minimize your screen, then you can answer it. So I guess you can try minimizing the screen and then bringing it back up. See if that helps, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to everyone who's put through their feedback.
Yeah, fantastic support.
Yeah, thanks Nathan. Yeah. Okay, so okay, a few more coming through now. So yeah, thanks again, Nathan. Your tech support has certainly paid off, because I can see the highest number of people that have voted for this particular poll than the previous polls. But I'm going to close it off now. Okay, so we can see that most people do use some form of trace mineral supplementation. A small proportion of people don't, and of course we also have the consultants and advisors online watching as well.
Yeah.
Back to you, Paula. What do you think about those results?
Yeah, but we need to launch the other question.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Jerry.
No worries. Okay. So the follow-up to the previous question is, if you do use trace mineral products, do you use oral or injectable, or perhaps both? So oral products include fertilizers, loose mixes, blocks, liquid minerals, all those types of things. And once again, I've included a option at the bottom. So if you don't use any trace minerals, or if you're not a producer, then feel free to tick that particular box. Hopefully everything's coming through nicely, that you guys are able to vote this time round. Oh, and I should actually correct myself. It was actually a gentleman by the name of Adam who provided the advice on the the issue with voting here. Okay, so I'm going to close off the poll now. Very good number of replies, and I'm going to share the screen. So you can see that quite a number of people use both oral and injectable forms of trace minerals. And of course, the same proportion of people, they are either not using trace minerals or they are not producers.
Okay, fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Any comments there, Paula?
Yeah, we will discuss a bit of this in the next couple of slides. Fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so indeed, there are different forms of trace mineral supplementation. Oral minerals as block, loose mixes, or water solution have variable intake and palatability, and they are affected by antagonists in the rumen and are not designed to address critical events of the production cycle. Oral intake of minerals is dependent on voluntary feed intake and water intake, which in turn vary according to production cycle, physiological state, environmental conditions, and animal behavior. However, this variability can be minimized through the administration of injectable trace minerals. By injecting trace minerals, they are delivered directly to the animals for use by the tissues. And trace minerals, in the form of injectable, bypasses the gut, producing a rapid and effective methods to increase trace mineral status in cattle. And this is why we recommend using Multimin, an injectable trace mineral formulation which is rapidly absorbed and readily utilized, producing a strategic and rapid mineral delivery at times of high demand. Multimin contains copper, selenium, zinc, and manganese for sheep and cattle. We also have a unique formulation of copper-free for sheep and cattle. Multimin enhances the antioxidant system to improve the health and performance of livestock to cover high demand periods. Multimin is scientifically proved with more than 25 papers published in scientific journals. Multimin is absorbed in 8 hours and reaches adequate liver levels in only 24 hours. Multimin is a top-up trace mineral supplement designed to complement good nutrition programs and is not designed to be used instead of good nutrition, which means that Multimin can be used at the same time as other oral trace minerals in the diet. While oral trace minerals help to meet daily requirements for animal maintenance and avoid deficiencies, Multimin is a top-up to supplement the animals during periods of large trace mineral demands on high metabolic demands periods, such as weaning, joining, pregnancy, and calving for animal performance. Multimin has demonstrated benefits for fertility. Multimin increases the overall conception rates, reducing the number of empties at the end of the breeding season. Having fewer empties means more money. In addition, Multimin produces a tighter calving pattern. More cows born earlier equals more money. Multimin protects the reproductive system and improves fertility by enhancing the antioxidant system. The 4 trace minerals included in Multimin are important for the function of antioxidant enzymes. We have scientific trials that show that after you inject Multimin in cattle, it would elevate the levels of antioxidant enzymes. This graph shows the change in antioxidants enzymes in cattle after injections. Bars in red are control groups and the bars in blue are animals treated with Multimin. You can see that right before injection, the 2 groups of animals have similar levels of antioxidant enzymes. But few days after injection, the level of antioxidant enzymes in Multimin-treated cattle increased significantly. We have run a number of different trials by giving Multimin 1 month before several breeding programs in cattle, such as artificial insemination, natural joining, and embryo transfer. As overall, you can see that there is an improvement in the total number of pregnancies at the end of the breeding program. In other words, there is a decrease in the number of empty cows at the end. But what is the best response we have observed is the impact of Multimin on early conception rates. That is the number of pregnancies occurring during the first cycle. Here we can see there is around 11 to 14% increase in the number of cows that conceive in the first cycle after being treated with Multimin, producing a tight calving pattern. This slide shows why you will want to have an early calving herd. The main message here is that at the point of sale, a calf born earlier had more time to grow, and hence it's worth more at the point of sale. It's more heavier. A cow's estrous cycle is only 21 days, so having them coincide in the first cycle means an extra 21 days for the calf to grow, compared to a calf conceived in the second cycle. We should generally aim for 65 to 70% of our breeders to calve in the first 3 weeks of the calving season. This is a nice tight calving pattern. A tight calving pattern brings long-term benefit. Cows and heifers that calve early result in early pregnancy for the rest of the productive life. Heifers are older, heavier, and sexually mature at joining, being able to bear a successful pregnancy to term. It reduces the labor cost and the cost of feed and animal health. It produces an easy weaning because all cows will have similar age and weight, and as a consequence, we can market an even mob at the point of sale. We have also demonstrated that topping up trace minerals to the pregnant cow with Multimin 30 days before calving supports the early life of the newborn and helps to ensure the speed of rebreed and overall calving rates. Newborn ruminants are born with a very undeveloped immune system. In order to survive the first month of life, they depend on maternal antibodies ingested via colostrum. They are also born with trace mineral reserves in the liver that correspond to 30% of the mom's reserves. Therefore, injecting Multimin 30 days before calving is a 2-in-1 treatment, increasing the trace minerals for the calf and in the cow. The reproductive performance is just as important for the bulls as for the cows. Many producers understand the frustration of having a bull that underperformed for the season and failed to join with the cows. Trace minerals play key roles in bulls' fertility, having functions in libido, sperm quality and quantity, and the development of testes in the young growing bulls. Trace minerals are linked to spermatogenesis and the integrity and health of the hoof, which is indirectly linked to reproductive performance, as good conformation is vital for a successful cervix. Injecting Multimin 90 days before joining and during the breeding season can help to improve semen quality and bull performance. This trial shows a 22% increase in the number of sperm in the ejaculates of bulls given Multimin. The same trial also showed an improvement in motility, or how well the sperm swim, and morphology, how they look and if they appear normal. Ultimately, all this means that you have more bulls passing the breeding soundness exam and more efficient bulls during the mating season. Multimin is a registered pharmaceutical product. Follow the dose rates outlined on the label and don't exceed them. Dosing to the lightest instead of the heaviest in the mouth is a good rule of thumb. Don't use Multimin in emaciated or sick animals. Multimin is designed to be injected subcutaneous. For best practice, we highly recommend applied at the side of the neck in the area shown on the diagram and separated from other injectable trace minerals for other injectable animal health products, which mean inject a different side of the neck. We don't recommend using Multimin at the same time of other injectable products, drenches, or boluses containing copper or selenium. Multimin has very low rate of adverse events, but excessive copper and selenium can be toxic. Now to finalize this webinar, I have some take-home messages. The breeding herd is under high metabolic demands before joining, as they are still recovering from calving. High metabolic demands are associated with oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is associated with early pregnancy losses. A strategic top-up of trace minerals protects males and females against oxidative stress. Multimin is a trace mineral injection that enhances the antioxidant system to improve herd fertility. I really appreciate your attention, and this is the end of my webinar. I hope this webinar was helpful for you. And if you are interested in other webinars, please register in our webpage. Now, feel free to ask questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Paula. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch screens back to my presentation now, just to give everyone a chance to put through some questions. And while we wait, I'll just take you through some additional information. So as Paula mentioned, if you are interested in other webinars, such as what you've just seen, please remember to go to au.virbac.com/webinars, and on that page you'll see a list of webinars like you see here on my screen. And you can register on whatever you feel is relevant, as many or as few as you like, and this web page is often updated very regularly. So hopefully over time you'll be able to attend webinars that you feel are interesting to you. In fact, tomorrow evening we've got a webinar on how to build the best cattle drench program in 2020. So that's 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow evening. The other thing I'd like to bring everyone's attention to is if you haven't already seen online, we do have a program called the Multimin Performance Ready Challenge happening at the moment. It's a very exciting competition. If you'd like to get involved, or if you'd like to follow your mates who may be competing already, don't forget to go onto Facebook if you use Facebook and search for the Multimin Performance Ready Challenge, and then you'll be able to join the Multimin Challenge group. So we currently have 200 members at the moment. A lot of like-minded producers. We interact, share results of different trials, farm valuations and so forth. And of course, we're there to share a lot of good, helpful information as well. So please feel free to join that if you'd like. Okay, so I'm going to start reading out some questions to you, Paula, if you're ready. And as I read them, yeah, feel free to send some more through, because we do have some time to cover quite a few questions if anything is of interest. Okay, so first question is, so my take is inject at the start of the joining and then calves at 60 days old. Is that correct?
Yeah, partly. So we recommend to inject pre-joining, like 30 days pre-joining, 30 days pre-calving for this 2-in-1 treatment, and then for calves in preparation for weaning, like 2 weeks before weaning. When you get the vaccines for them at weaning and to prepare them for this highly demand period and highly handling of the calves. Yes. But the time for calves treatment can vary, and we can discuss your conditions and if you can use it a bit earlier. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, the next question. I heard ADE has antioxidants too. Do I still need to include trace minerals if I'm using ADE?
Yeah, well, vitamin A and E have antioxidant properties, but they work in a different pathways as the trace minerals. So they are fat-soluble vitamins, and they have different functions in the body. They work in combination and in synergistic effects with trace minerals. So it's the question is not vitamins or trace minerals. It's better use both to improve the antioxidant status of the animals.
Great, thank you. Okay, next question. Is it better to blood test animals before injecting Multimin to avoid high selenium and copper?
So blood test is not normally reliable for copper because copper is stored in the liver, and levels in blood can vary according to, for example, molybdenum intake in pasture may create some changes in blood copper values. So it's not a really reliable sample. And for selenium, you can evaluate glutathione peroxidase. But when we use these blood tests are normally when we suspect that we have risk of toxicity, and when we have previous cases of toxicity, like from vet records, then we can have this risk if we use Multimin. But from the time that we've been using Multimin, we don't have any cases of toxicity in the animals. Normally the levels are adequate or even marginal, and that's why Multimin helps.
Great, thank you. It's a pretty complicated question, that one, I guess. So yeah, I hope that answers it. If not, please let us know if we can clarify that a bit more. Okay, the next question. What if I use Multimin at calf marking with first vaccination?
Yes, you can use it at calf marking, but normally we recommend this if you didn't use in the cows at pre-calving. Because if you use at pre-calving, you will have enough transfer of trace minerals for the calf to support immunity for first vaccination at marking.
Great, thank you. Okay. When do you use ADE injection?
ADE injections are recommended when we are under a prolonged period of dry pasture intake, as if you remember from my presentation, the reserves of vitamin A in the liver may last from 3 to 6 months. So if we are under very dry condition and we expect to have more than 3 to 6 months of dry pasture, we are at risk of running out of vitamin A stores in the liver. And that creates problem for fertility and the performance of the calf if the cow is pregnant.
Great, thank you. Okay, the next question. How long is sufficient levels of multimin minerals staying in the animal's system?
Well, this is a very common question. The levels will depend on the animal's requirements and the metabolic rate of the animal. So how fast the animals are able to use the trace minerals. If animals are under high demand period or are in, I don't know, I imagine like animals that need to carry, for example, in sheep, if they need to carry twins, that probably the trace mineral will last shorter time in the body. And we recommend to use Multimin every 3 months, but this will depend on the conditions of the animals. And if they are also receiving other type of trace minerals in the feed.
Great, I guess it's a matter of the analogy I like to use is asking the question, you know, how long is a tank of fuel going to last? I guess it depends on what type of car you have and how full the fuel tank was before you topped it up.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question. When would you use Multimin before transporting over distance?
Well, we recommend to use Multimin in preparation of high demand periods at least 2 weeks before high demand periods. So if we can use 2 weeks before transport, like it can be used for live export or for before transport to the feedlot, it will support immunity and reduce the stress that happen during transport. Yeah.
Okay, great, fantastic. I've just got the one more question for now. So if anyone has any more questions, please feel free to keep submitting them. Otherwise, we'll be wrapping up shortly. Okay, so I use Multimin with CobaLife. Is that okay?
Yeah, CobaLife contains hydroxycobalamin, which is a good vitamin B12. It's important for you to read the label because remember there is a CobaLife that contains selenium. So you should avoid using that product. So if you use CobaLife only with vitamin B12 as hydroxycobalamin, it's good to use with Multimin.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for answering all our questions, Paula. I think that's it for now, unless there might be a few more that are coming through, but I don't think so. So thank you everyone for attending our webinar. We'll be wrapping up shortly. If there are any questions here that we haven't been able to get to, or you think about it after the conclusion of the webinar, certainly feel free to get in touch with us by email. Most of you would have received emails just alerting you to the webinar, and you also receive follow-up emails, and yeah, feel free to get in touch with us through that, and we'll be able to have a chat to you over the phone or by email, whatever you're happy with. Also, at the conclusion of this webinar, you will also be presented with a very short questionnaire just to help us improve our webinars for the future. So if there's any feedback you'd like to give us, yeah, feel free to tick some of those boxes and yeah, let us know. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Paula, for a very, very insightful presentation, also for helping to answer these questions.
That's all right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon, good evening.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.